Okay. Hello and welcome to Plugin Along, a stream dedicated to LOTRO plugins. Last time on Plugin Along, we changed the new Festival Buddy to NPC timers to only show timers for NPCs that we still cared about. In this case, the beggars in Frost Bluff. So if you already interacted with Ted Ives to move them off, and for Charitable Spirit, then no more timers for Ted Ives. Today we're going to add some options controlling this new system and then starting a timer for Ona Kay if we have time. As always, feel free to jump into chat with your thoughts and questions about Lord of the Rings Online in general or plugins in specific. And in the meantime, let's go ahead and pull up my HUD here. Oh, chat window is a little bit bigger than I meant it to be. And then we're going to go ahead and share my desktop. So it goes, he says, good evening. Good evening. I'm running a little late today. Among other things, I keep a checklist of things I want to do before I start streaming on a service called Quire, Quire, and they're having an outage right now. So I had to kind of do this from memory. So if something is amiss, that might be what's going on. So we want to go ahead and take a look at this issue that we're using to track this feature. And one thing I want to do is go ahead and change these little dots showing what we want to do, this bullet list, into a check system where I can check it off. So I'm going to go ahead and do that for both of these two comments. We're going to go ahead and update that, and we're going to do this. And instead of a dash space as a bullet, we're going to add open and closed brackets with a space in between them as well. Cool. So show all the timer only when a timer is active. That is a choice that's been made. Show all bigger timers regardless of whether they are. You know what? Maybe I didn't want to do that. Anyway. Yeah. Okay. Those are options to do. Add option to control the use of this window. Add option. One thing I did not do, I don't think we've done, is we're paying attention to whether or not you've done moving them off or charitable spirit through the quick guide. But what happens if you've turned off that particular quest? So let's take a look at that. So if you come into the options and you come into Yule's quick guide, you might say, hey, I don't want to do most of these. Wait, no, I remember we did do that. Excellent. I was a little worried we'd forgotten that. So what I want to do is go through the changes, the outstanding changes from last time, and commit them, and that'll help refresh my memory. Okay, so coming on into our source control here, we're using fork from fork.dev, which is a wrapper around Git, which is backed by GitHub. And we're going to go ahead and look at what's changed since last time. We're in the NPC Cooldown window, and my comparison has showed up on the wrong screen. Okay, what has changed is move change used. Okay, that was one of the things we did. Excellent. And is charitable chain used? We checked that. And either if it's not used or it's done, and if the other one's not used or it's done, then we just stop. Otherwise, we keep going. Awesome. That's a great change. What else do we have? A couple of turbine.shell.writeline messages for debugging. And we have our NPC chains. We had some tweaks to some timings that I've been playing around with. So let's do some commits. Adjusted some timings. Now, I don't know if these are, correct, but you got to start somewhere. NPC timings. Excellent. We're going to go ahead and only count the chain if it is in use. Sure. And that's going to be this and this. And we're still doing this output here. I'm not too worried about that at the moment. Awesome. We have a pretty clean working directory. Push those off. Great. Okay. So let's go ahead. A charitable spirit and moving them off. Excellent. And we can see someone's just done one of those. We're going to make that a little bit smaller, and then in the background, you might notice that my say channel is logging. instead of just capturing the chat, we're just everything that comes in, I'm logging it out. That's because I want to get the timing for what Ona Kay has to say. And so what I want to do after this, as I mentioned, is we're going to go ahead and integrate a timer into the Festival Buddy window so you can see where in the, let's say, maybe 9-minute window of preparing the contest, 1 minute remains, contest, X minutes until the next eating contest begins. So I want to integrate that into this UI so at a glance you can say, oh yes, as far as this plugin knows, we have 5 minutes to go out. And that would be nice if it would show how many minutes you have until the next contest begins. How long until you can sign up for the next contest? Because that's the most important question that I try to know the answer to is, do I need to be here in 30 seconds? Do I have 3 minutes? Can I leave town and come back? So actually the pair of how long do I have until signing up and how long do I have until the contest begins, which is to say when signing up is no longer available. And in fact, about 10 seconds before the eating contest happens, it's very difficult to get in between all of her /say emotes. You can do it right at the end there when she's like, go, and then the actual contest begins. There's about probably less than a second's worth of time that you can get in there, but basically 10 seconds before the competition. So you have 2 minutes to 5 minutes to sign up would be maybe how we're going to present that information. But first, we're doing some gathering in the background. And for completeness, I would want to run this with French and or German clients in the background as well. So I can very easily line up the timestamps, the date timestamps, with each entry. So Ona Kay says this, great, whatever her German name, whatever his French names, this is what she says over here. I don't want to put that load on my computer while I'm also streaming, so I'll do that in the background. But I'll also know exactly what I'm looking for. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk options. So first of all, this window that pops up can be a little distracting / annoying. So I do want it to be optional and possibly off by default. Maybe on by default. It won't hurt anyone before next Yule anyway. But it's got to be somewhere. So that is a thing. Right now we have escape key closes, main window scaling. What's your time? Great, we're at +6. We have cats fighting in the background. Hey. Oh well, as long as there's no blood. So we have quick guide section. So all of this is quick guide. And then we have map options. So somewhere in there we need to, and this is kind of associated with a quick guide, but not really. It's separate from that, but it is Yule specific at the moment. And that is a question. I think it doesn't do any harm for it to exist because the first thing we check on a /say is if we're in Yule, then dispatch this over to the Yule thing. We'll need to adjust this if we ever have any other NPCs to handle. Okay, let's look at adding an option. So this is in the options win file, and I'm going to go ahead and shrink this up a little bit so we can see it side by side with the actual window. So in here we have draw quest accept fail. Well, that's all the debug stuff. We don't want it there. Generic options, quick guide options, map options. New section. Maybe it's a new section. Let's go ahead and y equals draw. We can at least put it here and then we can just move it wherever we want it to be. Draw, what is this? NPC Cooldown options. So non-debug options and y. And then we need to make a function. So let's go ahead and find this other one. And we're going to go ahead and, yeah, put it right down here. Function this, options y, and great. And then in here, we're going to go ahead and return y plus question mark? Sure, 20 at the bottom. So what we want to do is go ahead and add things directly to the options control or make our own control in which we put things. Making our own control does have some benefits, especially if we have a lot of them. But it does add some extra complexity. Whereas you can see the generic options, we have an ignore escape key and the time offset, and that's it. And they're being placed directly into options. I like having things in a container though. And we can see that in... Let's go ahead. We were just doing this in one of the debug options. So many debug options. Okay. Draw say debug? It was in the draw say debug. That's what it was. Okay. So in here we have a draw say debug control, and then everything else is nested in this. So we're going to go ahead and get some inspiration from this. And we're also going to have that options Y. Yeah, that makes sense. So options Y. And we're going to start this off. So we have the draw NPC Cooldown control. Sure, even options control. Setting its parent, setting its size to the width of the container and a height of something. We're setting its top to where we want it to be. And then we want y equals y plus 30, just so we can see something, because we're going to go ahead and say set back color to turbine.ui.color.dark green. Sure. And let's just see that we're doing something. Okay, so we load it, come back into our options. Great, we have a section. Problem, the next section isn't taking that into account, and we want it to. So we have y equals that, y equals y plus 30, options plus y. So that part looks okay. Wait, it does not. 100, that's the problem. Great. Now, what was my solution for this resizing? We went ahead and said, we set the height to y, and then, yeah, okay. So, set height to y, but it's this thing, and then we're going to use that, get height. Great. So by definition, everything is shoved down by the height of the thing that we just put in there. And as long as we have whatever bottom margins we want in there, all is good. Okay. So we have a thing on which we can place our own controls, and we don't have to care about anything else in this window. We just put them where we want, adjust the final height of the box that we're in, and call it a day. I'm going to keep the dark green background color for right now. Just it gives a nice visual of the space that we're working in. But eventually we'll want to comment that out or even delete it entirely. Okay. So the original size was this. But that is kind of just a placeholder. We don't really need it. What we need is to know the height of the controls that we're working with and how much vertical space we have for those. So this is going to be replaced to get rid of this next line. Cool, that's just a reminder to ourselves. So we need stuff here. What are we gonna do? First of all, we just need an overall control for, are we using this feature? So we need a checkbox. Checkboxes look like this. So let's go ahead and do that. Local use NPC Cooldown equals, and view I would like to open you a split rate. There we go. Or maybe split up. One or the other. Okay. We want a turbine.ui.lotro.checkbox. And we always want to remember to set the parent. Set parent. And that's going to be this thing. So all of its positioning is relative to this control here, the draw NPC cooldown options control. So 0, 0 is the upper left of this green section here, and we can go from there. We don't have to worry about where we are in the greater options dialog. That's really important for being flexible because you want things to be relative instead of absolute, so that if I decide to move this section somewhere else, I don't have to go reposition everything else below it. They're all relatively placed compared to this one. You keep crying, little one. What's up? You want to come join me? No? Okay. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do some other stuff. We have use NPC control. We want to set the text. And for that, we should be a good steward and actually do something localized, but I don't have a text to localize at the moment. So let's go do something about that. Use NPC Cooldown. Hi. Yeah. Meow. Okay, you can let out. Use NPC. And for this, we can borrow the structure of the next one, but basically there should be an entry for each language that we have an alternate for. Don't have a German one right now though, so I guess it'll just be English. Use NPC cooldown window. Yep, good enough. So if we have this and we come on back to our options window and we use that instead, then that should be the text. Let's go ahead and set a couple of other things up, and we'll make this a little bit wider, just to a little more space to work with. Okay, so we're going to set the size, and for that, we can just make it to the size of the thing it's in. Get width, and we'll make it 20 tall, sure. And y equals y plus 30, and that'll at least give be something to replace there. Okay, what else? Set position. Cool. Set position. Indent equals 10. That's fine. Local indent equals 10. Is it? Yeah. So set position, indent y, and then setting. Yeah, is it checked? Great. Yeah, we need to do something about that. So let's go to our settings, and that's going to be in global. All right, default settings. Same basic thing. Use NPC cooldown equals should this be on by default? My only concern is if it's not on, people aren't going to realize that it's there, except by word of mouth. Is that a problem? Maybe not at first. This might not be a very attractive feature for a lot of people. It just feels like a very useful one. I think it's so intrusive if you're not looking for it to pop up in the window that I'm going to err on the side of caution and say, now you've got to turn this on yourself. Now this is character settings. Do we want to assume that it would be server-wide? Probably not. We do most things by character. Okay, so we'll start there and we'll be able to change that if we need to. So we do have this setting. So the use NPC Cooldown set checked, we're going to go ahead and set to the value of settings dot not escape key closes window, but use NPC Cooldown. Great. And now we do need to know about its checked change, and it's going to look very similar. Checked changed equals an anonymous function taking an ascender and its arguments. And in that function, we'll go ahead and just update settings. In fact, this whole value equals use NPC cooldown is checked. There we go. Super easy. So let's go ahead and see what that looks like if we just reload. Cool. But after we enable or disable this feature, by checking it, we want to control something else. Now, let's take a look at our ideas, our brainstorming. Show all the time or only when a timer is active. I don't think I want to add that timer right now, or add that level of control. I think I want to hear how people use this. Show all beggar timers regardless of whether they are active. When no one shows when at least one timer is active, only show active timers. Yeah, I don't think I want to do the rest of them. So that's interesting. Add option to control the use of this window. Well, I've added it, but we're not paying attention to it yet. Add option on by default to exclude NPCs that you're done with. Probably. I think that's why I justify having this window at all, is because it gradually gets less noisy and eventually you just stop seeing it entirely. And if you are still seeing it, it means you still need to do something. So it's a reminder there as well. Is there a benefit to always seeing all the activity of all the beggars? I want to say no. We're gonna start gently and only just control whether we're doing it or not for now. So we need to pay attention to this. Let's go ahead and check it and make sure that that setting does persist. It does, great. So we need to actually pay attention to this because as we can see, we are not paying attention to it now. So let's go ahead and, now that we have such a thing, no, sometimes the Windows snapping thing just feels a little bit too aggressive. Okay, so we have settings using that, and we have that. Okay, so we want to come into here, I guess, the handle this, and yeah, pretty much here. If settings, if not settings dot use this, then return end. Only handle these chat messages. Meh. I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory. I'll think about that. So, we are going to go ahead, unload and reload. And then we need to be able to trigger these things. Currently, it says yes, use it. Oh, there we go. Awesome. I'm going to turn it off and then assume that this person's about to make the rounds. Ted says it's bad, just bad. Okay. I'm going to turn it on for Regina. Oh, they're stopping to get quests. Great. Okay. Regina goes on. They're talking to Jack Judson. Jack Judson says, so very hungry, but doesn't go into the window. Turned it back on. And Bill Hyde says, I'm sorry if I was upsetting folks. Now notice that we can't see the NPC here. That's hidden because we don't have the quest, but we still see them in /say. Oh, Athena says, I thought the festival was over. Yeah, me too. And then I saw a posting. It was on the official LOTRO Discord server, but it was pointing out the Yuletide festival timing adjustment. Now, I don't know why they made this choice, but they posted over on yesterday that the Yuletide festival continues until 3 a.m. Eastern Time on Monday, January 12th. So basically extending it by 1 week. So instead of ending on this past Sunday into Monday morning, early Monday morning, it's ending this next Sunday. So the 11th will be your last full day, ending at the server quest reset time at 3 a.m. server time. So it was just this short little thing. There was no explanation that I saw as to why, other than the fact that Yule is awesome. But that didn't really... I mean, a lot of the festivals are fun, and they don't often extend them without a lot of obvious reasons why, like server downtime or what. I don't know. But good point, Athena. I forgot to mention that this is a thing. So, good news for those of us who are developing plugins against the festival. Okay, so we can see the Use NPC Cooldown window checkbox is working. The last thing we want to do is get rid of that green background. So let's go ahead and come back in to the options window. I prematurely closed it. And we're going to go ahead and get rid of that background color. Unload it, come back in, and we can see in the options that it looks fine. Okay. In fact, I kind of would like to have a little bit more vertical space there. So we're going to say 50 instead of 30. Let's take a look at that. Yeah, that makes it more obvious that it's its own thing. Cool. Okay, so that is a good change. Let's go ahead and commit that change before we move on to anything else so that we don't miss any details. Okay, so first of all, we added use NPC Cooldown window option. So that is the global option. It's defaulting to not in use. I don't know. I think it's cool. I'm gonna go ahead and say true. I'm gonna say it does. Default. True. And then we'll see how I feel about that later. Okay, so if we're not doing it, then don't do it. Okay. Skagosi says, agree, it is cool. Well, I appreciate the vote of confidence. Okay, we have the options to check it or deselect it. And then the text to show for that checkbox. Awesome. And that's everything. Let's go ahead and add the new line there too. Cool. Well, that was easy. It got a lot easier as I was mentally paring back the kind of granularity we might offer up until later. So, super easy way to make life easier is don't do all the stuff you originally thought you were going to do. So, added that option, and then we're going to go ahead and edit, and just say nope. And we're going to go ahead and edit this, and I'm using a double tilde to indicate that I want the text to be struck through. This allows me to retain it as a historical curiosity or a kind of a breadcrumbs of where my thoughts were. So we still have this text, but there's a visual that, no, I'm not doing it. Okay. So what was this? When we see it's complaint in chat, start a timer. If any timer is running, show the window. Add option to not use this window. Cool, done. Each beggar may have a different cooldown. This requires some testing. They did. The timing may be different based on whether they get the job back or they are chased off. It's true. They have different chat announcements, which lets us distinguish between them. Hooray. All right. It's fine to pay attention to when these things are said whenever the current festival is Yule. but the UI should only show between picking up and dropping off. Moving. The UI should only show. You know, I thought about that, and I think as long as the quick guide objective is uncompleted, that's fine. And even that, sometimes I will log in. I'll log off and log in up here by Mara Sandy Downs, and I'll leave my quick guide in the completed status. So the first thing I have to do is hit reset, and in the time between I log in and when I hit reset, those objectives are marked as complete. So I'm not tracking any time, Barrett or any nearby. So Ted Ives and maybe even what's his nut. Regina's husband. They're all close enough. Jack Judson. They're all close enough that I could be tracking them, but I need to hit that reset on there. And I don't have a good answer for that, but it's fine. It's incremental progress. Cool. Okay. So basic functionality done by commit. And what is the commit? So we're going to go ahead and, first of all, push this out so GitHub can see that. And then we're going to come in and copy the commit SHA, the hash, over here. And GitHub recognizes what that is, and will transform that into a link to a specific commit. So we can, I'll just pop that open, actually, and say, okay, this is this commit, and therefore this or later, we're good. We have everything we need for the basic stuff. So we're going to go ahead and close with that. Cool. Visible timer bar for eating contest tables is next on my goals here. Add quest progress tracking for quick guide. I can do that after the festival is done. This is a lot easier to test during the festival. Okay. After completing tables 1 to 4, start an approximately 1 minute timer to track how long we have to finish the next table. Oh, that's different than the one I was thinking of. That was just because when you finish the first table, you get a timer on your quest, but if your quest log is full or whatever, it's just not very visible. I'd love an on-screen timer bar. That's not what I was thinking, though. So I want to go into Documents, Lord of the Rings Online, and I should be... Yep, there we go. I should have a file with chat messages in /say. And we're going to go ahead and just find the ones that say Ona Kay. And we're going to pull all of those out. And now we have a basic schematic of the timing of the eating competition. And really, I don't think we need all of these. Yeah, it's like, I think she just did more. Okay, so we have 4 full sets of these. And what I want to do is do some basic analysis on them. And when in doubt, possibly use Excel. So let's play around with that. I'm going to open up Excel. Really, any spreadsheet, an OpenOffice or LibreOffice, that's fine too. I'm genericizing Excel here. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to copy out the date time here and put that into its own column. Date time stamp. Great. And bam. Okay. It seems to understand what that is. And then we have the /say value. And in that, it is going to be all of this. So let's grab that. Okay. Now one could do a import and text to columns and all that, but with so few entries, I thought that was easier. So what we have here is, let's go ahead and do some math. Equals this minus this. And what does that tell us? That's very small. That's a fraction of an hour, I think. So let's go ahead and turn it into seconds. No. Let's parenthesize it and then turn it into seconds. Great. That can't be right. Minutes. Oh, was that a fraction of a day? Oh, hang on. Yes, that was approximately 15 minutes. No, it was 9 minutes. Cool. Yeah, 9 divided by 16. Great. So let's go ahead and wonder what happened to LOTRO. Connection to the server has been lost. It's twice that's happened today on this character. No, on this server. Well, we'll go ahead and start it back up in the background. But I'm looking at Excel, so hardly matters. All right, I waited too long. Sorry, I did not wait long enough to start my launcher, so it saw that the preferences files were still in use by the old client. So I got the, oh, I guess we need to start from scratch. You know, do you want to download fresh files? I do not. Okay. So we can see that there is 9 minutes and a couple of seconds. Let's just, that minus 9 times that minus 9 times 60. Oh, and 1 second. So minutes, remaining seconds. Might be easier just to, oops, do it in seconds from the start though. So we're going to go ahead and see that's 541. Okay. And we can just it is pretty much exactly a 9 minute is what I'm seeing. With a couple of seconds of variation. Now, that variation is a little annoying because what that means is that if we know it will be, it should be 9 minutes exactly after the last one. But what we're going to want to do is sort of set up a, this is what we think it is, but we'll want to refresh our knowledge of where we are anytime we see Ona Kay speak. That being said, we are back, and I don't think I need to track what's going on in Say anymore. Within one of these, because we're pretty much 9 minutes after each previous thing, so that's fine. Within each one of these, we have time between steps. Okay. So this is going to be very similar, but it's going to be this time minus the previous one. It's 48 seconds. Awesome. And let's see how consistent this is. That's a problem. I think that's probably part of why I'm getting discrepancies is I forgot. No, wait, there are seconds. Why am I not seeing seconds? I want to see seconds. So we're going to come into date or time, or actually custom. Oh, we should see seconds. That's fine. Okay, so 1 minute until, then we see 10 seconds. That was 48 seconds, so that's pretty close. 4 seconds later, we get ready. 3 seconds, almost exactly. That's a funny thing. We get set, and then eat. Awesome. Mr. Alex in chat asks, is it possible to create a plugin that adds an option to remove frills on selective landscape regions? I don't like frills on certain regions, but I don't want to go to options each time to check/uncheck the frill distances. I hear what you're saying. Unfortunately, plugins don't have Lord of the Rings Online's plugins don't have access to the options system. There's nothing a plugin can do to interact with your graphics options, change them, or whatever. In a few cases, a plugin can know what your options are, maybe, or can see ramifications of that. Like if you change your key mappings, plugins don't know what key you press to do a thing, but they know that you pressed the thing. So yeah, even there, plugins don't have any insight into what key do you press to jump, but they can tell that you did jump. So a plugin isn't the right path for this. Unfortunately, I don't really have any idea of what would be a better path other than going into the options and changing it as you desire. Unfortunately, there's no current way to have like a named graphics setup where you could easily toggle between two different ones of different names. But no, yeah, I can definitely see the use case that you're talking about, but plugins cannot get you there in the Lord of the Rings online ecosystem. Sorry. I get it too. As a frequent player of Hobbits, I am very often finding my camera in the weeds, quite literally. So, this is the Hobbit view running around in tall grasses, and yeah, and in some environments it just stretches on like that. And so for those cases, if I want to see anything, I have to play games with camera angles or turn the frills down a little bit. Okay, well, great question. Thanks. Sorry, there's such a wide discrepancy between what plugins or add-ons or what have you can do in different games. I play a lot of Valheim when I'm not playing Lord of the Rings Online, and you can make modules there that change the game much more significantly than a plugin in Lord of the Rings Online can, for example. Mr. Alex says, yeah, frills are annoying in some cases, and they should be faded. Yeah, I was reminded not too long ago, a few months ago, I was revisiting the original Diablo 2 and reminded of how they had done a really decent job of fading out pieces of architecture that were between the camera, which was in a fixed position. You had no control over that, but between the camera and the action, an area of around your character. And I thought they did a really reasonable job with how they just made sure you could always see what your character was doing and the stuff around them, even if there was a wall between your camera and the character. And I think, what they were doing there was fine. I think you wouldn't necessarily want the camera to just like shove back into this house and then look through the house to see the character. I think that would be strange as well. So I don't think that's necessarily a good solution here, but every game has to find that approach for how do you maintain visibility while also keeping the aesthetics of the game going. So it's a challenge. Okay, so between 10 seconds everyone and ready, we have 4 seconds. Set is another 3 seconds. Eat is another 2 seconds after that. So 48, 52, 55, 57, and then we do not see the next one for another 484-ish seconds, or about 8 minutes. So that does sort of answer the question is, we're having a 9-minute cycle, 8 minutes of which an eating contest is open, and but when can you sign up for it? Okay, I don't have it. Ona Kay said, already set eat at 51 minutes. We're at 54 right now. So is it really just that 1 minute window between 1 minute until it begins? Like we have plenty of room, or does the ring become available sooner than that? We're going to muse on that question and others as we stand here, but I'm guessing it's just that. Surely it's not just a 1 minute window, right? But she doesn't say anything else, so it would have to be disconnected from things that Ona Kay announces as the announcer. So if the last one was 51 minutes, already set eat 51:17, then we should expect at 9 on the dot server time? No, local time. So that's another 5 minutes. We could expect that. Sure. Okay. Let's set a reminder to go look at that. Windows alarm system is bonkers. So 2059. Watch Ona. Alright. Just made myself a little alarm here. It's going to say in 4 minutes, tell me to look at Ona. And if the ring is already up at that point, then, and we didn't notice it, we'll at least see it then. Okay, so plotting out, mentally thinking, what do I want here? Is I think it's going to show up on this window because it's a nice central place to put it and doesn't assume the use of a quick guide or the NPC cooldown window. And what I want to do is have a bar that represents this 9-ish minute cycle of signing up for the quest and not signing up for the quest. And if we wanted to subdivide it with any of her other announcements, that's fine. But we only have so many pixels to work with, and we're going to shave off 1/9 of that for the you can sign up for it. And we would like to know where we are in that cycle as well. So what will that look like? It could just be one of these timer bars, and it just changes color. But I think having something that moves through it or an arrow on top of it that shows where we are could make some sense as well. Let's go look at Hobnanigans. Hobnanigans has its own timer system. So Hobnanigans, if we start and then the game starts, this timer has some bars that are kind of on top of the actual timer. They just divide it visually. Okay, Ona said, oh, Ona's available. This is 57-ish. Great. So to get the actual timing, I'm going to have to pay attention better. But let's assume that instead of 1 minute, it's more like 3 minutes of the 9 minutes. 10 seconds, already set eat. So that was 51:17. And I said that, so it was like 6 minutes later. So yeah, okay. So we're going to assume about 3 minutes, 1 minute of which is the 1 minute until, and then you've got a 10 seconds here. How many pixels do we have to work with? Let's just do a basic calculation here. I'm going to take a little snip, copy that off to MS Paint, just as an easy way to do this. And then we're going to go ahead and just do a little selection here. Okay, it looks like about 260 pixels. Thank you. So if that's 260 pixels, let's go back to here. So if we have 260 pixels, And if we have 9 minutes, which is that many seconds, then we get equals seconds per pixel. So basically we get 2 pixels and just a little wiggle room. 2 and slightly more. Excellent. I should look at that later. Okay, so so there's about 4 to 5 pixels for the 10 seconds left section of the 3 minutes. And the 10 seconds left is where you really can't anymore, except for the very end. Right when she says eat, it becomes available to interact with her, open it up, accept the quest. But we shouldn't assume everyone can click that fast. Okay, so what does that look like then? Do we have a little arrow on top of it, just sort of moving across? I like that. I mean, that, or there's like a little white line that's kind of moving across the timer and just like loops over whenever you get to the previous point. Let's go ahead and set up a visual representation of what we're thinking about. And once we see the timer, maybe we'll get some inspiration of how we want how do we want to represent the progression of time. So we're going to start by coming on over to, I wonder what happens if we go to Yule and back to Hobnanigans. Yeah, it's still going. Okay, let's stop the game. Winner! Okay. So, in the Yule, and we're going to move this over here so we have a lot of room to think about this. Going to close that. Going to close this. Going to leave this. Actually, add timer in Yule Festival area to show where we are with Ona Kay. Cool. I'm going to put this in here. Make a visual representation of this. Note. It seems that the quest becomes available about 3 minutes before the start of the eating. Maybe. Needs additional testing to verify. Right. Cats are making noise. Alright, can I make it this, mark it as code or something? What's the, so this, 3 ticks? Yeah. No. There we go. Okay. Cool. So, we have that, so we don't need this, and we'll go ahead and get rid of that as well. Let's come on in to, this is going to go in the main window, I think. Main win. We're just going to close everything for right now. Alright, so, if we are in the main window, let's just see where we care about Yule. In the debuff view. and for the acting. Okay, that's all in a refresh debuff view. Where does this get called before we contemplate anything else? That gets called in fill main win, yeah. Refresh, that is only here, okay? Fill main win. When the festival changes, okay? And then in the basic constructor of the window itself, we'll do it once there too. Okay, so we fill the main window. We do tokens. We do cooldowns. Let's just do CD buff holder, set back color, turbine.ui.color.dark red. Great, okay, so that is what we're looking at. This is the area I wanted to put it in, so that's good. So it is CD buff holder. So if we look for exactly that, we have the scroll bar for that area, which doesn't get active very often. We have, okay. Are you done playing in the box? You're making a lot of noise. Okay, we're adjusting where the quests area is based off of that. We clear the items in the refresh debuff view. And that's pretty much it. I don't actually want it in here. I just want it to be within this area. So it could be just something that comes after that. So let's play with that. Let's make just a control. So local timer control equals turbine.ui.control. We're going to go ahead and say timer control set parent is going to be the same parent of the debuff holder. We really just want this to be coincident with that. Timer control, we want to set that background so we can tell it's there. Turbine.ui.color. And we'll just make it darker green to provide contrast to those people who can distinguish green and red. And we're going to go ahead and say timer control set size to be, yeah, that same get width minus 28. And the height, let's just make it like 20 for right now. And timer control set position is going to be, yeah, 13, and then this thing, get top plus that get height minus 20. Let's see what that looks like. Also, why is someone making my phone make noise? Okay. So that's basically that green stripe is the area that I want to use for this purpose almost. What I'm noticing is, and this is sort of doesn't matter too much for right now, but what I'm noticing is that we're overlapping that bit here, and I don't like covering up that border, even though at the end it might be a transparent thing. And that looks like two pixels right there. And at the other end, there's 1 pixel extra. So let's go ahead and fix that while we're at it. So that's going to be setting the position, that should be 15. And then the width should be 1 more less, maybe. Let's try that. Okay, that looks much better. Let's go ahead and double check ourselves. Okay, and we can actually be 1 step further down in the window if we wanted to be. I actually want to have a 1 margin all around now that I'm thinking about it. So we'll take care of that too. So we want the position to be 16, and we want the width to be 2 less. Great. So now we have a 1 pixel margin all around, which I think will make it look a little bit better. Could be more than that, but this is fine. So we need a label, actually. So we want to have a label for this. Local timer label equals. Oh, and all of this should be if festival equals Yule, then, because right now, what I forgot about is if you go somewhere else, it's still going to be there, and we don't want that. So let's go ahead and verify that we've got that set up right. So come over to Spring. It's not there. It is there. Great. So we need a label equals turbine.ui.label. We've got to set that parent. And I'm already thinking I want something to contain these things, so I only have to position that one once. So local, that's what this timer control is going to be. And then we'll make other things inside it. So let's go ahead and first of all, we're going to make the local timer height equals 40. We're going to use that here and here. Great. And all this mucking about with like 31 and whatnot, that's because, again, we're doing some absolute positioning. Not a fan, but that's where we are right now. So this thing, this timer label, we're going to go ahead and say set parent to be this timer control. And then that way, all of our positioning will be relative. So 0, 0 is going to be fine default position for right now. Timer label set text. And what is that going to be? What is this thing called? This is the eating contest. Sure, eating contest. To do, localize. I don't want to think about that right now. And then timer label set back color turbine.ui.color.blue, just so we can see the extent of it. Cool. Let's look at that. So first of all, that's fine. It's where we want it to be. It's not big enough, so let's make it wider. So timer label set width. Sure. Let's just set it to be the width of everything else-ish. Timer, I'll get it width. I don't actually care what that width was, just whatever we already calculated. Great. Height, not great, so let's go ahead and set size to be that and 20. It's probably unnecessary. It's fine. Yep, 15. Good enough. because other things can sit on top of this and we won't pay attention to that. So we have 15 out of the 40. The rest of it can be timer. Let's think about what that would look like. Do we want any sort of a box around this timer? I mean, it'd be nicer if we did that. So let's make a background that's 1 to 2 pixels bigger than the actual timer that we're going to be using. So timer background local equals a turbine dot UI dot control, and this is going to be parented by the timer control. Set parent timer control, and then we want to go ahead and do what we were talking about. So set size. We want it to be the width of the timer control minus a bit. So get width minus 4. Let's give it a 2 margin all around. And then it's going to be local label height equals 15. So we have that to manipulate. And that's going to be timer height minus label height minus 2, minus 4. We'll be consistent. Timer background is set back color, turbine.ui.color. We can call it white for right now and change it if we want. And the last thing is the position. So timer background set position, and we want this to be over by 2. Now let's just actually say local timer margin equals 2. And then that way we can say minus that times 2, minus that times 2, set position, timer margin, and then this is going to be timer height plus timer margin. Maybe that works. Let's find out. So we're going to unload and reload, and that didn't work. Timer background as UI control, setting its parent to timer control, setting its back color, yes. We set the size to just to verify that we have a valid size, and that's not the problem. Let's go ahead and see what that was. So we have a size. Size looks fine. And then did we set the position? Oh, no, that should be fine. Just in case we've miscalculated its position so it's too low to be visible, let's just set it to a height, to a top of 0. There we go. Okay, so timer height plus timer margin. Of course, should have been label height. Cool. Okay. There we go. So we can see it at the bottom, and this is a subtle thing, but what we can see is that there's a 2-pixel margin around the left, right, and bottom. The top might be only 1 pixel, but that's okay because that green and that blue aren't even going to be there. That just gets us a little bit of extra edge, and then we're going to make a smaller box inside of this that's again 1 or 2 pixels smaller, and then that will be our actual working space for the timer. So what's that look like? Local timer foreground equals turbine.ui.control. And this is going to be parented by the timer background, actually. That'll make life easier. It's going to be the same size as the timer background minus another margin. So timer foreground set size, and that's going to be timer background get width minus timer margin times 2. And then timer background get height minus timer margin times 2. Great. And I'm doing all this with a parameter, the timer margin, because if I decide I want that to just be 1 pixel or 3 pixels, it will be changing just this one value right here, and everything else should work if I've done my math correctly. Okay, so we have the sizes correct. Oh, don't need that debug statement anymore. Let's go ahead and set the back color. So timer background set back color to... Oh, that's interesting. You only have one back color, so we're probably going to be dividing this, have 3 different pieces that are representing the timer. But for now, yeah, turbine.ui.color.green. We're already using green. Blue. No, we're already using blue. Bisque. No. What? Deep pink. Sure. Timer background. Oops. Timer background. Copied the wrong thing. Timer foreground set position, and that's just going to be timer margin, timer margin. Let's take a look at that. Okay, so we see within our 2 pixel margin there, we see everything else working. And just to sort of demonstrate what I was talking about, let's double the margin all the way around, and we can see that everything just works the way we're expecting it to. That doesn't leave much room for the timer. What if it was 1? Nice, clean. If it was 0, bam. So I'm going to leave it, 1's actually not terrible. I'm going to leave it to 2, but I'll revisit that once it's a little bit more finished. Okay, so if we're going to color code the different regions, for instance, green is you can get the quest, and that's a almost 3-minute region. Then yellow is we're about to be starting, and then red is the feasting has begun, so you can't pick up the quest. Because we're really trying to answer the question of when can you pick up the quest. Then what does that look like? To me, that looks like a green chunk on the left, and, a time kind of ticks by, and then you have a yellow chunk, and time ticks, you get 4 or 5 pixels there, and then a red section that you're ticking through, and then it wraps back around to green. And that's what that looks like to me. If that's the case, or something similar to that, then we're actually going to need 3 chunks of this. And we're going to need to write some custom code that... Actually, we won't. If we have these 3 inside the foreground, and then something on top of the foreground that's just progressing through, like a white line or whatever, then... yeah, we don't need to care about those 3 sections. That's an implementation detail. Okay, let's look at that. So we have timer foreground equals this control, but so local timer foreground quest available equals turbine.ui.control. And this is going to be timer foreground quest available set parent to the timer foreground. So this is going to be coincident with the timer foreground and just smaller is the goal. So we're going to set the size to a width that is proportional and then a height. So 0 and then timer foreground get height. That's fine. So the size, the width, I mean, let's just say it's 10. And then timer foreground set position. This one's actually fine because it's the first one. It's the left one. So what we need to do is say total time 9 minutes. Quest time, quest available 2 minutes 50 seconds, 170 seconds, approximately. We'll put a little approximate there. 10 seconds left. 10 seconds. And that's, again, it's approximate. And then eating time is about 6 minutes, or 360 seconds. So total 180, 364, 540 seconds. Let's go ahead and do it like this. So with that, we need to know how many seconds each pixel is. So local pixels equals timer foreground get width. Then local seconds, total seconds equals 9 times 60. Local quest seconds equals 170. You know what? That's fine. 540. We already have the documentation up there. Local last call equals 10. Last call seconds, and then local eating seconds equals 360. So that all adds up. Therefore, we need a pixels per second. No, seconds per pixel. Well, we have a number of seconds, so we need pixel per second. Local pixels per second equals pixels divided by total seconds. So we know the quest width, local quest width equals quest pixels equals, and we should have pixels per second times quest seconds. And that should, through that unit resolution, give us pixels. Okay, local last call pixels equals pixels per second times last call seconds, and then local eating, not easting, seconds equals, no, pixels equals pixels per second, and that you could abbreviate that as PPS if you needed to, but it's fine. I don't have a shortage of characters. Eating seconds. Now, in theory, all of these pixel counts, when rounded properly, will add up to the total number of pixels that we have. But in practice, if we're off by a pixel one way or the other, I don't care too much. That's one reason that we're going to be within a control, is if we go off the end, it'll be cropped and we won't see it. So let's go ahead and use these quest pixels. That is the width there. And then local timer foreground last call equals turbine.ui.control. So this is just going to be basically the same as the last one. So we're going to do a copy paste. And then instead of quest pixels, we're doing last call pixels. And we want to be over quest pixels from the left. We're still fine being at the top, but we want to be over however far we were before. And then we'll do one more. Oh, we need to set a background for each of these. So set back color, so turbine dot UI dot control, no, color dot green. Cool. And we're going to do the same here, but that's going to be yellow. And we'll do a final one, and this is going to be timer foreground eating. And that's going to be red for lack of a better color. But instead of just being over by quest pixels, we're going to be quest pixels plus last call pixels because we got to bump this over. Let's take a look at that, see if it works. Okay, it did not. We forgot to check, make the size of it correct. So we need eating pixels, and we could see that that variable wasn't used properly. Okay, so that's the general look of a timer. I'm not enjoying the 2 pixel margin though, so I'm going to bump that back down to 1. I just want it to be a touch. Yep, I think that'll be fine. So this is what we have, and what I would like is, I think, a black line that steps through here once we observe Ona Kay saying something. Now, I'm reluctant to save. No, I'm reluctant to rely on saving this information for too long because of the skew. But if you log off of one character and log on the other character, I think you should come with that information that this is close to correct. So if a saved value was saved in the last hour, it's probably fine. If there's got a couple seconds skew over the course of an hour, each one of these is 9 minutes, so we're going to get 7 of them? 6 or 7 in an hour. So losing a couple seconds, we're going to lose less than a minute total out of a 9-minute stretch. So I don't think that's a problem. If it's been more than an hour, I'd say we just dump it and start over the next time we see Ona Kay say something. Now, she only says something when? When does she say something? Well, let's take a look at that. Ona Kay says 10 seconds, everyone. So she says where you are in here. Ready, set, eat. We can pay attention to each of those if we want. 1 minute until the eating contest begins. So she talks, says something in here, and that's it. Those are the only times she says something, and that's why capturing this information feels very valuable, because if you're not near her when she says it, too bad. And I'm going to want to be able to fire off these as tests in our debug, so I don't have to wait for her. Okay, but once she says something, we can just have a timer go and just have it keep going. In fact, timer is not even the right conception of this. If we know when the last time she said a thing, we can adjust our internal conception of where we are in the schema, and then what? Well, we need an update in order to actually draw something on here. So let's look at what an update handler would look like here. I'm so used to a timer with the idea of the thing is getting bigger or smaller, but if we're just drawing a black line, it just loops and loops and loops. Very different. And we're going to want an options thing. And I'm noticing that we've already been here for an hour and a half, so I'd be surprised if we finish off everything that we want today. And so I'll finish the rest off as time allows. But I'm going to try to make a black line appear and sweep across. And to get started, it'll probably go really fast so we can see some progress. Oh, Ona Kay is available. Great. And then there'll be some testing to make sure that it is actually 3 minutes plus or minus a few seconds. Not 2.5 or 3.5 or 4 or something silly. Okay. Let's make something up here. Local current time equals turbine.ui.control. And this can actually stretch into the background because I think it's okay if the black bits are visible off of the color as well. So this is going to be current time. We're going to set the parent to the timer background. We're going to set current time set size to a width of, again, let's make this a little bit parameterized. Local current time width equals 1. But for the height, it'll be timer background get height. Okay, so we have that. Current time set position. We're going to start with it being not even visible. Let's just set it to 0, 0. And then current time set back color to turbine.ui.controlled.color, .black. I think it might be black by default, but this is fine. And then current time set visible to false, because we don't actually want it to be seen. Let's make sure we see it first, and then we'll set the visibility to false. Yep, we see it. So we're setting it visible to false. Everything's good. So current time dot update equals a anonymous function of sender args, and for this we're just going to sweep across here. So current time start equals turbine.engine.getGameTime. And now that should be fractional seconds. Yeah. Start time. And then in the update function, we'll go ahead and say, do we have math.mod here? Mod? How do we do a modulo in Lua? Modulo. Fmod it is. Okay. So we're going to say that local time equals turbine.engine.getGameTime. In fact, we could say local game time. Local seconds equals game time minus current time dot start time, and we want to mod that, so equals fmod math.fmod by the number of pixels. So timer foreground get width. Excellent. And this is just logic to show it sweeping, and that's once per second. It's a start though. And then current time set left 2 seconds. Sure. So current time set visible to true, and then current time set once updates to true. Let's take a look. Now we can see that because it extends beyond, because I'm using the background instead of the foreground, it didn't take the margins into account with that width. I don't like that. So, for this, get width minus margin times 2, and then set left plus timer margin. Cool. Yep, that's better. So, the next question is positioning this correctly based off of things that she says. And there's only about 4 things she can say, and it's all, and 3 of them are, tech, sensor, set, ready, set, go. Okay, so there's 4 things there, and then 1 thing a minute before that. So those are the only things she can say. And so at that point, we're going to want a debug option, because we don't want to wait for it to have to say this every 9 minutes. So that's the next thing I'm going to work on. And I'm suspecting that that's going to bring us to the end of our stream time, is just being able to simulate these things. That might take all the time that we have left, and if so, now's a great time to get any last minute questions, comments, concerns you might have into chat, so we get a chance to look at those before the end of the stream. And if not, that's okay. We can always check them out next time. Speaking of which, I expect to be here next week if the world cooperates. We're a little snowed in here in the Netherlands right now, and who can say what will happen over the next week? Okay, let's go ahead and... I'm kind of curious what this timer is going to do. As it hits the end, it should loop back. But while it's doing that, let's come look at our options. So what we want to do is somewhere in here, and it can be down by the say stuff too, I think. Simulated chat messages, yep. So we'll add an eating contest section after this. We have one for Hobnettigans, for Fireworks and Brie, Farmer's Fair, Fat Mayor. So we'll just maybe add one after the Farmer's Fair. Fireworks and Brie, we should probably say when that is as well. LOTRO Fireworks and Brie. That is the quest, Fireworks and Brie, and that is for anniversary. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and come into our options window. And Fireworks and Brie. First of all, yeah, anniversary event. Fireworks and Brie, awesome. And then coming on down to stuff and things. That's the draw options window, great. In the debug area, Farmer's Fair, Fat Mayor, great. Y equals draw. Yule stuff in the stuffed. What are some official words about this? It's the biggest stomach of them all. Neat. Well, the wiki confirms that they think it's about a 3-minute cycle for the quest being available. Awesome. Draw Yule stuff. No. The biggest stomach with the debug options. Okay, so we want to go ahead and have a function that is similar to that function. Function options. So the way this is going to work is we want to simulate the 5 things that she can say. Probably just with buttons. So this is going to be local y equals, oh, right. Man, I don't like that. Okay, so we have a place that we can do this. And again, let's go ahead and go on into the draw say debug. And we'll just make a control here that we can use for this. So this is going to be biggest stomach control. Okay. Oh, well, I didn't pay attention, but the black line does seem to have looped, so that's cool. So I think as long as we always are using the same anchor point, like eat, for instance, then we should always be able to save that off and then load that and compare, is it within the last hour? Cool, let's use it, otherwise throw it away. Okay, so that's what I'm feeling good about. Okay, biggest stomach control, and then within this, let's go ahead and actually just set the back color. And double check that we have space in here. So y equals 5 plus 100. Okay, so we do have a space in here, and we want to go ahead and do something with that. So we're going to do a label, and then set height to y. Get height. We could also just use y there, that's fine too. Okay, so y equals y plus 20. This is going to be Yule, the biggest stomach of them all. Cool. Should be fine so far. It is not. We did not actually 0 and y. Gotta use the right parent, otherwise all your calculations wrong. Great. Okay. So we have our yield base sum of them all label. Next up, we need to add our buttons. We know what we're going to have buttons for. It's going to be each of these. So 1 minute. Let's get the whole thing. Okay, 1 minute until hope you have plenty of room. And then she's also going to say 10 seconds, everyone. Ready? With 4 dots? That's a strange ellipses. Set and eat. So those are the 4 buttons that we need to make. So let's go ahead and have a button row. Local button 1 equals turbine.ui.lotro.button. Make sure we parent it correctly. Set parent to biggest stomach control. And then we want to make sure it says what we want it to say. This is a debug section, so we don't have to worry about localization. So set text to 1 minute. And then we need to set positions and sizes. But really, let's go ahead and set up our other buttons as well. Ready, set, eat. So this is going to be button 2, 3, and 4. And then we want to make sure that y equals y plus, say, 30, so that we have room for all of these. So button 1, we're going to set position to be, I don't know, 25 over and 30 down. Maybe 20 down. Let's give that a shot. Okay, yeah, that one actually looks fine, but we can see it's not big enough. So let's go ahead and button 1, set width to be 50. 100? That seems way too big. On the other hand, 100 seems perfect. Okay, so button 2, set position is going to be button 1, get left, plus button 1, get width, plus 10, something like that. Oh, and the top is going to be 20. Cool. Ready isn't quite as big, wide as I would want it to be. So let's go ahead and button 2, set width to be 75. See how that goes. Yeah, that's fine. And we're going to do the same thing with buttons 3 and 4. So that's going to be button 2's left, plus button 2's width, plus a little bit, and button 4 is going to be, yep, relative to button 3. Let's give that a shot. Nope. Button 4 there as well. Okay, so 1 minute, ready, set, eat. Perfect. Now we just need handlers for each of these buttons that will trigger the code path as if we had just received those messages from Ona Kay. So let's go ahead and set those up. Button 1, click, equals an anonymous function taking arguments of sender and args. And we want to pretty much mimic the /say. So in here, when we have the handler, right. So new line, I don't even think we need that. So the message is going to be in here. Ona Kay says, blah, blah, blah. Message equals, and we have an end line at the end of it, a new line, sorry. And this is coming in on, say, we're just constructing our own args, chat received, blah, blah, blah. Perfect. And then it's going to be like that for each one of these. Button 2. In fact, let's do the whole thing. Button 2, button 3, and button 4. But, gotta fix those names. And then we just need the actual text that we know that she says. Okay, Ona Kay says 10 seconds, everyone. With a new line at the end. Ona Kay says ready. Oh, I'm missing one. Right, ready. I need the 10 seconds. Set. And eat. Great. So we have that. We're missing the 10 seconds left. So this will actually be button 5. This will be button 4. This will be button 3. And then we need a button 2. Button 2. And that's going to reference button 1's position. So 10 seconds. And 10 seconds, everyone. This could probably be a table that gives us values that we run in a loop instead, but for now it's fine to just type it all out and get it working. Okay, so unload, reload, options. We can see it might be nice to have these be a little bit further left. So set position 25, let's just set it to 10 so we can fit everything on here. Although this might be, a bigger window than sort of the default value. That's okay. So 1 minute, 10 seconds, ready, set, eat. All those are doing something, but there we are. Checking message, 1 minute, 10 seconds, ready, set, eat. Great. And we probably see that kind of thing happening already. Checking message, Ona Kay says eat with a new line in there. Eat with a new line. Perfect. So we can simulate being in any of these. So, chat received, if it's a chat, if it's say, we're in filter say. If we are in Yule, then we can go ahead and handle say chat Ona Kay. Let's save off that raw text. Well, save it off here anyway. Local raw text equals get raw text. And then we're sending that off to there and there. That's fine. Handle say Ona Kay. Okay, that's in the Hobnanigans window. Farewell. Okay, so function handle say message end. We need these messages and we need them to be localizable. So, where is that? Not in options. Where are the mayor? Guess I should look over here. Laying quest farmers for a fat mayor. Okay. Other farmers fair. Cool. So, Yule, Ona Kay says. And then this is English equals, and then we'll go ahead and have the various things that she can say in here, and that will tell us how many seconds we are through the thing. And each time we hear it, we'll just reset where we think we are in the session, or this game time was this, therefore we'll roll it back, and this game time was the start of this thing. So we'll just update our assumption of when was the start of this thing. Is that a reasonable thing to do? Probably. Let's try that. Okay, so we're setting up 5 things here. Let's go grab our quotes. Okay, says blah blah blah. New line. And 1 minute until the eating contest begins. So at that point, we are 120 seconds into the system. All right, 10 seconds, everyone. At that point, we are 170 seconds in. Ona Kay says ready. Ona Kay says set and eat. Ready, set, and eat. And this is 180 seconds in. Let's check our spreadsheet. We know that ready comes 4 seconds after 10 seconds, everyone. So that's 174. We know that the next one comes 3 seconds later. That's 177. And we know that eat happens approximately 2 to 3 seconds later. I think that's fine. This is sort of the platonic ideal here. So, whenever we receive one of these messages, this is where we are. And I don't actually like that these numbers are going to be duplicated 3 times. Unless it was actually different per language. I'm guessing it's not. So, it would be nice if this had a lookup table where we could take the value of this lookup from the strings to a thing, and then just have a single table. Now we can do that. Timings equals 1 minute equals 120. 10 seconds equals 170. Ready equals 174. Set equals 177. And finally, eat equals 180. So, if we instead of having the numerical lookup with a number of seconds, if instead we just have this lookup, then we can, regardless of the language, we can then take that entry to this lookup table and get the actual value. And then if we need to update any of these entries, we only have to change them in one place, which hopefully makes it a little bit more maintainable. Okay, so we have our Yule Ona Kay Says. So what we want to do is say, did the Ona Kay Says matter for our purposes? And so Ona Kay so if, and then we are in lang other. So if lang dot other dot Ona Kay Says, and this is going to be the language, client lang. If that entry with this message exists, then local step equals this, the time, the timing equals that. So that's going to be lang dot other dot okay, oops, right, and that's going to be timings of step. So that gives us a timing, and then we can actually just say turbine dot shell dot right line timing, and add in the timing, because that'll let us just get a little feedback that we're doing it correctly. Unload, reload, great. So we can see timing 120. Oh, that one didn't work. Ready, set, eat. Okay. What's going on here? Let's look at our strings. I didn't add the new line at the end, and that is going to be there. And I should have been able to see it there as a discrepancy in these messages. Okay, so 1 minute, 120, 170, 174, 177, 180. Those are our timings. Excellent. So once we add in the other languages, then this table doesn't need to change unless we see an actual timing difference. We're good to go. Okay. So what then? How do we deal with this? We need to be able to pass this message off to the main window. And the main window needs to be able to update where that thing is. Okay. So current time needs to be saved off somewhere. And it might as well be in the main window. It could be a global. I don't like globals. But main win parent is itself a global, so. Let's save it off. Okay, so Yule current biggest stomach time current time equals current time. Okay, so we can at least save it off there. This can be referenced in a function then. Function set main when Yule current time timing. So we'll take that timing and then we'll do something with it. And let's pass the game time as well. Game time and current timing. Local game time equals turbine.engine.get game time. Let's do that. This is going to be game time timing, and then it'll be at game time. The Yule timing is that. Okay. Let's make sure all of that is working. All right. To that, the Yule timing is 120. Great. That tells us when we should fix the beginning of this. Okay, so when we do this, we're going to go ahead and save off biggest stomach sort of start time. And that's going to be here. Actually, that's start time. Yeah, okay. So we have a start time. I feel like I'm going to want to split this vertically. Okay. So we have local current time equals that thing. Current time dot start time equals game time minus timing, and then current time, well, this right here. Once we've got the information, we can fire it off. So set once updates, great. Set visible to true, awesome. And then in the update function, we know, I mean, maybe that's just right at that point. Hey, let's just see if that works. Okay, so if we have 1 minute, it's not right. Okay, fascinating though, because it doesn't seem too wrong. Okay, so we have the start time, okay. So seconds equals game time minus the start time. You know? And timer with pixels equals, oh, we have the pixels. So we have pixels. We have pixels per second. Okay. So we know where equals pixels per second times pixels. No, that can't be right. We need to mod the time. We're mixing units here. Total seconds. That's what it is. So our seconds equals that. Our pixels equals pixels per second times seconds. And our left is that. Maybe. Has the benefit of looking simpler. 10, ready, set, eat. Well, that just seems amazingly simple. Oh, but the green isn't. Yeah, no, all the green is correct. Okay. So, when's the last time Ona Kay has said anything? at 12, she said eat. So 6 minutes later, that's at 18, which is 4 minutes from now. Okay, so in 4 minutes, this should actually sync up. So we're going to go ahead and load it up as if we have no information. But what we do want to do is save off, once we're really in the system, we want to save off the game time that we last saw this information, and just that game time of the start of the most recently seen one. And if that game time, when we're loading, is within an hour, let's use it, otherwise let's not. So, we have a couple minutes. So let's go ahead and cover her up so we can't tell if we're doing it right. No. Let's go ahead and minimize this. All right, we're gonna make her more visible. Okay. So, options. No, globals. Let's go into our globals, which is where this is. And then this is going to be... Okay, it's definitely not in the quick guide section. Oh, this should be a server setting. This should absolutely be a server setting. Yule, biggest stomach start time equals zero. The turbine.engine.get game time. Is it? Turbine engine get game time. Yeah. Corresponding to when the quest, the biggest stomach of them all quest becomes available. When loading, if this value is recent, it will be used, otherwise discarded. Cool. Okay. So, this is going to be saved in the server settings because Ona Kay seems consistent across at least one server, if not all the servers. I was doing something with Little Redhead where she was on Mary and I was on Perry, or vice versa, and our Onas were in sync. I don't think that's necessarily guaranteed, but it was interesting to see. So, we're going to store this at the server level because the Ona is always the same Ona regardless of which character you're logged in with. Possibly different per server, and we don't have an account. Oh, we do have account settings. I think we'll do it per server. I would not believe that there's any reason why they should be in sync, and the fact that they were feels more exceptional than not. We're coming up on 18 minutes here, and should be her 1 minute announcement, I think. Ona Kay said eat at 35, so at 18:35, which we're coming up on in just a few seconds. Say it. Speak, Ona. I want to see this work. I want to see it work right now. Now. So close. Okay, the ring is up, actually. So we're at 3 minutes. So maybe I miscounted it? But that tells us the 3 minutes out of 9 minutes is probably correct. So apparently I'm off. We need to wait another 2 minutes. That's fine. But we did see the ring come up at about when we were expecting. Okay, so the Yule... so we need to save this in server settings. Settings server, I think. Yeah. So settings server. this is chat logger. Cool. This is going to be settings server dot biggest equals game time. But we need to pay attention to this when we're loading. So, do we have a loading? Where are our default server? Default settings server. Where is this used? Great. So when I'm loading the setting file, okay, only trust a, whatever this is called, recent yield biggest start time. So local game time equals turbine.engine.get game time, and then if game time minus settings server dot that is less than, and this is in seconds, local seconds in hour equals now, is that reasonable? No, we'll just do that. Okay, so seconds an hour. Ona Kay said a thing, we automatically detected it, so we're tracking this. Awesome. If game time that is less than seconds an hour, no, if it's greater than seconds an hour, then this is nil. I guess. Just don't believe it. And then when we're creating, actually, let's not bother to do that globally. Let's do it when we're setting this up. Oh, well, we saw the eat, and now we're in the red, so that's really cool. Okay, so the current time let's go ahead and set this up. So game time equals this. If game time minus that is greater than seconds hour, no, if it's less than, then we'll go ahead and say that current time dot start time oh, we don't even need to do that. We can go ahead and use this function, set main when yield current time. So that is the that is this setting, and the timing is at 0 because we don't need to shift it at all. Okay, unfortunately, I'm going to have to destroy the actual timing, but that's the nature of testing. So if we go to 1 minute and unload and load, it didn't do it. That makes me sad. Okay. Oh. No, of course. And yes, that actually makes sense. So we need to get the difference. Local timing equals game time minus, and we need to do the same mod f here. Mod f, game time minus this setting. Game time minus this setting, and then the total seconds, and pass that, because that does matter. Okay. Whoa. Attempt to call, yeah, math dot mod f. Okay, so we can see we're about here. So if we unload, that looked pretty good. What if we unload for 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005? Oh, that looked really good. And if we give it 1 minute again and unload for a little while, I don't know if I have the patience for a full minute, but all right, let's go ahead and load it. Oh, nuts. That did not work. One minute. That's not working. Why are we using the start time anyway? This should be here. Yes. Okay. So we're setting that value. Start time. Local. Start time equals that. Okay. So the game time equals that. We get the modulo arithmetic. We convert it into pixels. That's all great. And then, yes, if this, then we need the timing. What's up with total seconds? Oh, that's not what I wanted. Was mod F always disincluding me? What's up with that? I think I want to double check what mod F does. Lua. Mod. Modulo. I would like to know more. So, F mod. What am I doing? Mod F. Oh my goodness. That feels like a problem. Okay, so we're going to do 1 minute. We're going to unload it, and then we're going to sit for a couple of seconds, and then we'll be able to bounce it back to 1 minute so that time has passed correctly. Okay, that's not right. So let's get some debugging here. Cool. So we have a game time and a timing. That should let us set this value. this is game time that. Awesome. So if we unload, that was that timing 128. Oh, Ona Kay just said a thing. Okay. So that was 893 timing 120. Timing 133. That should be fine. Timing. I must be doing something wrong. Let's take a look at all places that I'm using this, because I'm betting I'm using it wrong. Okay, so that's the default setting. The start time is that. I mean, the timing seemed plausible. Let's try that again. Let's say eat. So the timing is 180. I need those test functions to stop running. We're just going to say return anyway. We're going to cause a problem. It is. If show debug options, then return end. Okay, just always return. So, unload, load. I am definitely mathing that wrong. Okay, I think I'm moving it backwards in time by an extra increment. So, when we are loading, we have that start time. So, we don't need the offset. So if it's greater than that, just kill it. Else, no. If it's less than that, we don't need to do that. Just make this visible. Set visible, current time, set once updates to true. How about that? Okay. So this is that seems fine. If we go ahead and unload for a couple of seconds here, she'll probably not be sitting next to Ona Kay. She'll just mess up my timings. And then load it in, and we're okay. That was my problem. I was trying to account for the fact that the function I was trying to call wanted a timing, but I didn't need to give it to it. Okay, so we should be near. We are at the going into the red section. So you know what? I'm going to get away from Ona. And then load it in. And we're a little bit into the red section. Awesome. So I'm going to play around with this, but what we see here is we have a value that is going to be populated whenever we're near Ona and we have Yule selected. And, I am noticing that set back color. Look at it. Current time black, that's fine. Green. Background white, yep. Background blue. Let's go ahead and kill that. And background of dark green. It's actually hidden, but it does exist. Okay, so we're going to load that back in. We're still where we need to be. Yeah. Now, do I like it going into the background? I don't know. I think that looks a little strange to me. And now that I'm seeing it, I think if the current time we're doing foreground instead, that would probably make life a little bit easier as well. So let's come down to current time. Timer background, we're doing this, and then current time, 1. And then we're going to go ahead, and left is, we're not going to use the timer margin. Okay, let's check that out. I'm probably fine with that. Okay, so we're going to detect it, we're going to save it off, we're going to make use of it. I'm going to do some testing. I've still got a few characters to run through today's festival since the festival is still on. And I'm going to make sure this makes sense. But I think we've got a lot of promising aspects to this. And I think it's going to make it a lot easier to hit that timing of when do I pick up Ona Kay, because once you've got that, the current is for 1 hour. So as long as you don't have more than an hour between characters, you're going to be able to come back in and say, oh yeah, Ona Kay, I know exactly when I need to fit her into my routine. Oh, I'll put off chatting up. I won't put it off. All of that. So I'm very excited to finally have this in place. And I'm going to do some testing. We have come to the end of... Oh, I'm going to leave that up, actually. We've come to the end of the stream, I think. Let me check my notes here. And figure out why my screen just went black. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I would say that is everything we're going to cover today. Thank you so much for joining me on this exploration of LOTRO plugins, especially Yule, one of my favorite of the in-game festivals. I hope to see you here next week, and until then, keep plugging along. All right, bye-bye now.